Imagine leaving the only football home you have ever known. You accept less money, move to another country, and place your reputation on the line in an attempt to rebuild your career. You score goals, create chances, and help one of football's greatest clubs compete for major honors. Then, when the season ends, the club decides not to keep you. Barcelona was supposed to be Marcus Rashford's escape from Manchester United. It was meant to be the opportunity that allowed him to rediscover the explosive, fearless player the football world once admired. Instead, his dream move ended in another painful rejection. However, this was not the story of a player who completely failed. Rashford contributed on the pitch, adapted to a different footballing environment, and showed that he could still perform at an elite level. His Barcelona departure was caused by something more complicated than form alone. It was shaped by money, squad planning, positional competition, and the cold calculations that define modern football. This is the story of how Marcus Rashford finally reached Barcelona, and why the club still decided to let him go. This is Football Power Files. Before Barcelona, Marcus Rashford's identity was deeply connected to Manchester United. He joined the club's academy as a child and rose through the youth system, carrying the hopes of a city that celebrates local players differently from ordinary signings. When he made his senior debut at the age of 18, he scored immediately and announced himself as one of England's most exciting young forwards. Rashford was fast, fearless, and capable of changing a game without warning. He could race beyond defenders, cut inside from the left, and finish with the confidence of a player who appeared destined for the biggest stages. Manchester United supporters saw him as more than an attacker. He represented the club's traditions, its academy, and the possibility of a brighter future. That connection also created an enormous burden. Every poor performance attracted criticism. Every period without goals became a debate about his attitude. His body language was analyzed, his private life was discussed, and his commitment was repeatedly questioned. Because Rashford was a local academy graduate, expectations were often higher than they would have been for an ordinary signing. Over several seasons, he experienced major highs and difficult lows. He scored important goals, won trophies, and carried much of Manchester United's attacking responsibility. Yet, managerial changes, injuries, tactical instability, and inconsistent performances gradually weakened his position. The decisive breakdown came under Ruben Amorim. Rashford was left out of the team as questions emerged about his training standards and application. Amorim presented the issue as a matter of professional expectations, but the message was clear. Rashford was no longer considered an automatic part of Manchester United's immediate future. For a player who had spent most of his life at the club, this was more than a selection problem. Manchester United had shaped his career and public identity. Being pushed away from the first team created the feeling that he no longer belonged at the place he had always called home. Rashford needed distance from Old Trafford. More importantly, he needed the opportunity to prove that his career had not already peaked. In February 2025, Marcus Rashford joined Aston Villa on loan. The move offered him an escape from the constant criticism surrounding Manchester United and gave him an opportunity to concentrate on football again. At Villa, there were encouraging signs. Rashford looked sharper and more willing to attack defenders. He began making direct runs, carrying the ball with greater confidence and showing flashes of the acceleration that had once made him so dangerous. His performances were not perfect, but they demonstrated that his physical qualities and attacking instincts had not disappeared. The loan also gave Rashford a different environment. He was no longer expected to represent the identity of an entire club. He could simply become another player competing for his place, following instructions and attempting to contribute.
Aston Villa helped restore some momentum to his career. but the move never felt like the final destination. Rashford had another ambition. He wanted to leave England, experience a new football culture, and test himself at one of Europe's most historic clubs. That club was Barcelona. For Rashford, Barcelona represented more than another transfer. It was a chance to change the direction of his story completely. After years of criticism in Manchester, Spain offered distance, reinvention, and the possibility of becoming exciting again. In July 2025, the opportunity finally arrived. Barcelona brought Rashford to Spain on loan, with an option to make the transfer permanent. The agreement gave the club time to evaluate his performances before committing to a long-term deal. To help make the move possible, Rashford reportedly accepted a reduction in his salary. That decision demonstrated the importance of the transfer to him. He was willing to sacrifice part of his earnings in exchange for the opportunity to play for Barcelona. The move was still risky. Barcelona had experienced financial difficulties, salary restrictions, and player registration complications. Rashford was entering a club where politics and financial calculations could influence his future just as much as his performances. Competition for attacking positions was also intense. Barcelona already possessed several gifted forwards, and Rashford was not guaranteed a starting place. He would need to prove that he could adapt to a new league, contribute consistently, and fit into Hansi Flick's tactical system. At his unveiling, Rashford spoke positively about the opportunity. Barcelona represented the kind of stage on which players could rebuild their reputations and compete for the biggest trophies. After months of uncertainty at Manchester United, he finally had a fresh beginning. The footballing environment appeared suited to his strengths. Barcelona wanted to play aggressively, move the ball quickly, and attack space. Rashford could operate from the left, move through the center, and use his speed during transitions. His versatility gave the team another attacking option. For the first time in months, the conversation around Rashford was no longer dominated by disciplinary questions or his relationship with Manchester United. It was about what he could produce on the pitch. However, the structure of the deal remained important. Barcelona had not purchased him permanently. Rashford was entering a season-long audition, and every performance would influence the club's final decision. Rashford arrived in Barcelona with something to prove. He needed to show that his decline at Manchester United was not permanent, and that he could still contribute at the highest level. Over the course of the season, he produced goals, assists, and several important attacking performances. He provided pace on the left, threatened defenders in transition, and gave Barcelona another player capable of creating danger without needing constant possession. His performances in Europe were particularly significant. The Champions League placed Rashford back on the stage where elite players are judged most severely. Contributing in those matches helped restore some of the credibility he had lost during the final stages of his Manchester United career. Rashford also became part of a successful Barcelona team. He contributed during the club's domestic campaign and played a role in important victories. The season demonstrated that he could adjust to a different country, work within a new tactical structure, and remain productive under intense pressure. His campaign was not flawless. Rashford was not guaranteed a place in the starting lineup, and there were matches where his influence faded. Questions remained about his defensive work, pressing intensity, and consistency across an entire season. Even so, his performances showed that he had value. He had not arrived in Spain simply to occupy a place on the bench. He contributed goals, created opportunities, and provided tactical flexibility. Rashford also made his intentions clear. He wanted to remain at Barcelona. After accepting a salary reduction and moving away from England, he appeared ready to make Spain his permanent home. For much of the season, a permanent transfer seemed possible. Barcelona possessed an option to purchase him for a fee that appeared reasonable for an experienced international attacker. Then, the club changed its priorities. Barcelona's decision to strengthen the left side of their attack transformed Rashford's situation. The club invested heavily in another winger who was younger, naturally suited to the position, and considered a stronger long-term asset. The new signing offered many of the qualities Barcelona wanted for the future. He brought speed, pressing intensity, direct running, and the potential to improve further. His age also meant that the club could view him as both a sporting investment and a player with future resale value. That created an immediate problem for Rashford. His preferred position was already competitive, with established attackers fighting for minutes. Adding another major signing made the area even more crowded. Barcelona now had to decide whether it made sense to purchase Rashford as well. Activating his option would involve more than paying a transfer fee. The club would also need to commit to his full salary and provide a meaningful role within the squad. Those decisions were difficult because Barcelona continued to operate under financial pressure. Every major salary affected the club's ability to register players, strengthen other positions, and remain within league regulations. Rashford's age also influenced the calculation. He could still perform at a high level, but Barcelona had to consider how many productive seasons he could provide and whether his future value justified the total investment. The club's decision was not that Rashford had been useless. He had contributed and demonstrated his quality. The issue was that Barcelona no longer viewed him as essential. The younger winger represented the player Barcelona wanted to build around. Rashford had become an additional expense in a position where the club already possessed several options. Once Barcelona committed heavily to another attacker, the possibility of keeping Rashford became far less likely. The club allowed the permanent purchase option to expire. Football often presents rejection as proof that a player was not good enough. When a club refuses to complete a permanent transfer, the assumption is usually that the player failed to impress. Rashford's situation was different. He had scored goals, created chances, and contributed to a successful team. He had accepted reduced wages to complete the move and had adapted to life outside England. His performances showed that he could still operate at the highest level. Yet football transfers are not decided by performance alone. A club must consider age, salary, positional balance, resale value, tactical priorities, and long-term planning. Even a productive player can become unnecessary when a younger alternative is available. Barcelona's decision was therefore not a complete rejection of Rashford's ability. It was a rejection of the overall financial and sporting commitment required to keep him. The club may have been interested in retaining him under different conditions, such as a lower fee or another temporary agreement. However, Manchester United also had its own priorities. The English club wanted to protect Rashford's value and avoid repeatedly sending an expensive asset away on favorable terms. Rashford had succeeded in proving that he could still contribute. What he had failed to secure was permanence. That distinction made the outcome particularly painful. His Barcelona experience had restored part of his reputation, but it had not given him the new footballing home he wanted. When Barcelona declined to complete a permanent transfer, Rashford remained a Manchester United player. Contractually, he was returning to the club he had attempted to leave behind. The situation was uncomfortable for everyone involved. Rashford's relationship with Manchester United had already deteriorated enough to produce two separate loan moves. His place in the sporting project remained uncertain, while his salary limited the number of clubs capable of signing him permanently. Manchester United wanted to reduce its wage commitments and receive a suitable transfer fee. Interested clubs wanted financial flexibility. Rashford wanted regular football, trust, and a stable environment in which he could continue rebuilding his career. His Barcelona season had strengthened his position in one sense. It proved that he could still score, create, and contribute at an elite European club. However, it also created a new complication. Barcelona's decision not to keep him suggested that other clubs might also hesitate before committing to the total cost of the deal. There was a painful irony in the situation. Rashford had left Manchester to rebuild his reputation, and he had largely succeeded. Yet that recovery was not enough to give him complete control over his future. He returned as a player with renewed credibility, but without a clear destination. His talent could still attract interest, but his salary, age, and contractual situation made negotiations difficult. For Manchester United, Rashford represented an important financial decision. For Rashford, the issue was more personal. He needed to discover where he belonged after losing his place at the club that had defined most of his life.
Marcus Rashford's Barcelona move fell apart because several factors changed around him. Barcelona invested in a younger winger who occupied his strongest position. The club remained under financial pressure and did not want to commit another significant salary to an already crowded attacking department. Rashford performed well enough to prove that he could still contribute at the highest level. What he did not do was become so important that Barcelona felt forced to overlook every financial and tactical concern. That was the decisive difference. He went to Spain searching for evidence that his career could be revived. He found that evidence. He scored, created, and rediscovered part of the confidence that had disappeared in Manchester. However, proving that you can play for a club is not the same as convincing that club to build its future around you. Barcelona gave Rashford the opportunity to escape pressure, compete for trophies, and repair his reputation. What the club did not offer was long-term security. His dream move did not collapse because the entire experiment was a failure. It collapsed because elite football can be brutally practical. A player can perform, sacrifice, and still lose his place to a younger option, a different financial plan, or a change in recruitment strategy. Marcus Rashford reached Barcelona and demonstrated that he still belonged at the highest level. But Barcelona decided that belonging was not enough. Sometimes achieving the dream is not the same as being allowed to keep it. Was Barcelona right to move on from Marcus Rashford? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to Football Power Files for more stories about the power, pressure, and decisions shaping world football.